Oh, happy Sunday. That's definitely coffee with a little extra mode.
It is.
Yeah. Like a chill one, though. Like, you don't want to start too early.
No, I guarantee whenever I'm listening to this, my Nespresso machine is probably still hot. Simmering.
Well, are you the straight black coffee drinker?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, of course you are.
No training wheels.
Yeah, I need to be a barista to put together the things that I need to, put in there. And then the joke is, do you have any coffee with that?
Yeah, how many ingredients are in your coffee?
I don't want to tell you.
Is it more than coffee? Mm-hmm. Less than a hibachi grill?
I can do black coffee. I will do it in a pinch. But if I have my stuff, I will have my stuff in it for sure.
Got it. Well, we're rolling in today on our Soccer Mom Sunday. Chill vibe. You remember this one? This is a little Moby from back in the day?
Yeah, old for sure.
Right?
It's nice.
Kind of vibey.
Yeah,
I'm predicting my mood on that Sunday morning. On this Sunday morning when you're listening.
Yeah, right? You're going to talk in the past and the present.
I know. I got to remember that. Like, living in multi-universe. It's like Mr. Anderson from The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
We're in The Matrix.
But, some of the stuff that you can still talk about is somewhat relevant. This will go out. We'll be listening to it before the Thanksgiving holiday. And, on the MLS side of the game here, the St. Louis City has done their press conference. I mean, it was a 3-hour press conference. I've never been to one that long. But they gave us breakfast, which was really nice, a little buffet. And I was like, this should happen. This would be awesome during the regular season. And they said no.
You probably
and they said no.
More positive, right? More.
Yeah. We'll ask better questions if our bellies are fed. And then kind of each player kind of rolled in, not everyone, but eight or nine of them or something like that, plus Lutz and Bradley to talk about, of course, the season. What I just wanted to give like each guy a hug because all the questions they have to answer, it's like, you looking forward to the next season? No, they're mad still right now, right? Like we're still pissed off about losing. So they were very gracious, but definitely in the mode of, we're still mad.
Well, I think it's funny because like you in the particular role that you're in, having played and being a competitor and not liking to lose, you do carry a unique perspective into those press conferences because look, no offense to the other writers and the people that were in the room, but a lot of them are not ex-athletes nor competitors, and especially soccer players.
Yeah.
So it's like, we all know how it feels.
Yeah, sometimes I think it holds me back from asking
a
question. I'm like, because I know what the answer is. The answer is it's awful, and I don't want to talk to you right now.
What do you think you did wrong? We didn't score enough.
Played like shit.
They scored more. Go watch the film.
I thought I had like one where I asked Jared Stroud. He had told a story earlier about how with the New York Red Bulls, when Bradley was the interim coach, they got into the playoffs, but then they got their head coach and Bradley had to step back. It was the first game that Jared hadn't started. So and I was like, oh, this would be a great question. So I asked him, and of course, he was great. He was like, yeah, it was meaningful to step out in the first playoff game, but at the end of the day, I'd rather us win. I don't really care that I started, right? They want to win. Yeah. That's what players do. They want to win.
Yeah, and speaking of winners, our last episode last Sunday, the 15-year-old phenom.
I feel like I need to write her a check for saying that the mental game was important and unprompted, because I got to use that little bit of information in some team training with girls who are her age, and the Lou Fuse GA, and then when you bring up, say, does anybody know Alex Pfeiffer? And they're like, ugh, meaning they've played her and they've been beaten by her, and to know that this is a part of her growth. Yeah. I need to have this a part of my growth.
Yeah, we've seen her heels.
It's great. Yeah.
She gone.
He's in wheels.
It was just really amazing because it was back-to-back episodes that week where the first one to drop was over on Soccer Dad Pod. Jared and Zach and I had our boys on for the first time. And all three of them are 15 as well. So 4 15-year-olds.
Did eventually they just take over and say, Gads, go to the bar. We got this.
I think that they were, of course we're nerds. We're the dads. We don't, we're not on the IG as much as they are. And but I think they realize that communicating what they're experiencing and hearing themselves talk and answer questions that are beyond roster questions or whatever it kind of gave them a little bit of self-reflection.
Yeah.
And they ran with it.
And what they don't know, or probably don't know, is that whether it's parents or a parent saying, here, come here and listen to this kid, right,
Yeah.
saying the thing, that it matters so much more than, no, it's like telling your kid to do something over and over and then somebody else tells them to do it. They're like, oh, my coach told me I need to work on my weak foot. I'm like, I've been telling you that for 8 years.
Well, I think for you parents that are listening that do have kids that are active in the sport, frankly, it really doesn't matter. I don't care if it's basketball or baseball or whatever the sport is. You really should listen to those 2 episodes, not because I'm wanting the downloads, but because your kids are thinking a lot of the same things that they express that even we as parents that are around it all the time, we didn't realize kind of the angle of their emotion or the why.
Yeah.
Right. And it just it helped us. you
Yeah.
know? So, and a lot of parents out there are like this landscape in soccer in particular is like, what club, what level, where should we go? Should we do more training, less training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all this stuff. And the amount of soccer talk that all 4, including Alex, brought up was minuscule.
Yes.
It was all preparation. It was all mental. It was all how do they find Zen. I mean, I think 2 of them even mentioned meditation.
Yeah.
So go check it out.
It's the same parts of the training. So when I actually purposely mixed up the groups last night with the girls. So 6 GA teams, 3 and 3. We did 2 sessions. Mixed up, a younger group with kind of a middle group with an older group. And it was great. Then they get to go back into their teams and work. And the Zen part of training is when you don't need to do anything because they're the ones teaching each other. And then maybe they draw their coach in and their coach kind of comes over and starts. It's like, this is the sweet stuff. I don't even need to say anything.
Yeah, I think really simplistically what it does, and really I hope it encourages you, if you do go back and listen to it, actually ask your child not about the game, just ask them what they want. Ask them what direction they're going, what they think their goals are, because most of us are making decisions kind of in the presumed pathway, in the mold of the presumed pathway. And kids don't think like adults.
No.
All of those pathways, all those sign-up sheets, all those leagues, they're created by middle-aged people that, for the most part, don't play the game.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's my kid soapbox.
Yeah, that's for sure. But what other time of the year it is? It's that time of the year where I know I just got it in we have Team Snap, and so it's kind of cool. Like there's an indoor, my kid Liam changed clubs, but he's going to get to play indoor because, in the winter, you can put indoor together. And so, grab some people from around you. The cool part is that it's indoor season, although you can be always indoor season, but I typically think of winter as indoor season. And I'd like to welcome our guest, Shelly Clark. She's part of the ownership group of the Ambush.
She knows a little bit about indoor.
A little bit about indoor.
Just
Hi, Shelly.
a little bit, but don't hold me too. Don't give me. I don't want any pressure.
You don't want to be in the
okay?
weeds. You don't want to be in the weeds. But when anybody our age, JB, harkens.
Whoa.
I know you're younger than me. I'm the oldest probably at the table.
I did just have a birthday, by the way.
I know. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We're both Scorpios.
Oh.
Oh, great.
Why?
Shelly's like, I'm out.
It's so fluid.
I'm out.
How you doing, Shelly?
I'm great. Thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity to be on here.
Yeah.
No problem. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So thinking of, I'm taking us back to I went to St. Paul and Fenton Elementary School, and the Steamers were the shit. The St. Louis Steamers, because, and really St. Paul at the time, kids played other sports. There was Corey League. I remember Corey League, softball and baseball. They played other sports, but at St. Paul, soccer was big. There were a lot of soccer players, and we thought we were awesome. And the Steamers, even if you weren't a goalie, you wanted to try and act like Slobo.
Yeah.
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 And then, the game has morphed and changed, of course, in terms of names and ownerships. Right before you came on, Mike, we were talking a little bit about, when maybe you moved into the area.
Yeah.
I think it was the Storm had an interesting ad.
Yeah. I remember, my son was 3 at the time, and he loved anything sports related. Could sit through a hockey game, could sit through an entire 9-inning baseball game at the age of 3 and be completely enthralled with the action. And so, of course, moving into the area, I saw this billboard, and I'm like, and it's a bunch of very fit gentlemen holding some, soccer balls in very strategic locations. And it's like, okay, here we go.
Come watch us.
I know. And we went to our first game and, we went to several more. But,
You may need to go back. Maybe
bet-
you use that marketing tactic.
I bet Mark Moser had that idea. What do you want back?
As you said, there's been a lot of different changes in indoor in the St. Louis market through the years. And, our current ambush that's playing, we've been here 11 seasons now, and it's super exciting to go into it. We've got, a little bit of a different philosophy now that we've got a different ownership group. And I've been involved with the organization all 11 years, and it has changed considerably. And I have to tell you that I think I'm in probably the most exciting season that I've yet to experience. And I can only see what's happening in training right now, knowing those guys that we've got. Most of them have signed 3-year deals, and we're going into that third season. So the synergy is it's different. You were talking about the mental side of things earlier, and just knowing that, the keeper that's behind you has your back, and that you don't have to worry about that part of what's happening, and only being able to focus on what your job is just makes for a different, more exciting
Well, I believe you're talking about Paolo.
I am.
He's pretty good.
I mean, if that's what you want to call it.
We were lucky to have him on a little while back over on the Soccer Dad side, and our boys all know him too out at Gallagher through the training. And
Oh, yeah. We call him the Brazilian Rob Lowe. I mean,
Okay. I need to hold on. I gotta go look this. Okay.
Yeah, look, the dude is a good-looking dude. But the thing is, like, he's always smiling.
absolutely.
And I'm glad you brought him up earlier, that I realized who you were talking about, because I have a question specifically about him. How important is he to the team outside of the goalie skills, but just that demeanor, being a little bit older, being a dad, right? He's clearly, obviously well-traveled. For you guys, from an ownership group standpoint, when you look at the players, how valuable is Paolo outside, away from the soccer ball, to the team?
So he brings a sense of calm, and he almost demands it, which makes the guys go out of that, sometimes that tailspin that they get into of, why didn't I, or why wasn't I chosen, or whatever that looks like. And he really is a, focus on where we're at, focus on where we want to be. And his leadership qualities, just because of the years of experience, and we're not just talking about, the past 7 seasons with our team. We're talking about the time that he spent in Portugal, his career in Brazil. I mean, he's unparalleled.
Yeah.
And so much
Yeah, he
of
is. I just found his picture.
I mean, so much of that
Hello.
is,
Take a drink. Take a drink, Jen. Take a drink.
I need a moment.
it's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination of, and his skill, which sometimes, that's God-given, but it's also the work that he has been willing to put into it to further develop. And Jen, to your point, the mental side of especially being a keeper is so intense that he brings that intensity, but he brings that calm because he knows how to reset himself, which shows to the other players on the field that,
That's a thing, actually. That's a thing in mindset training, is failure reset.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, how do I get past the fact that I just, scored a self-goal? Like, how do I move past that, and how do I not allow that to just ruin the rest of the game? Because they're 60 minutes.
Which in indoor is so common, right? Like, we look at the outdoor game, and own goals don't happen as often, but in indoor, they're kind of a byproduct of the way the game is made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, the ability to be able to reset and know that your keeper is there to build you back up in that moment, it is imperative for just the success and the health of the team overall. And we have several leaders on the team who have, that mindset of being in the right place. You're looking at Robbie Christo, graduate of SLU, alumni, all-star. You've got William Eske, who is, our team MVP. Mm-hmm. There's a certain characteristic that comes with just being not only smart in the tactics of the game, but in how to approach life.
Yep.
And being able to imply that from, where you're at on the field to outside of that. And that synergy is really where Paulo helps with the team so much.
So, do you think that, let's expand a few names because you mentioned Will. I know Otto's there as
Yes.
well. Do you think that, given their role and other work that they do with youth players development, it sounds as if you have a very mature team. Are you happy that they're out there training with the stars and training with the steamers and training with all these other, with a lot of little kids, because it teaches them empathy as well?
Absolutely.
Do you see benefit there?
I would say, if I just had to guess, I would say over 90% of our players are coaching in a youth organization somewhere, whether it's a club or it's rec training or whatever. They are involved with soccer, and I think what that does is it builds that sense of community. Right? We want those kids to know those players. We want them to have the relationship. We want, when Will Eske scores a goal, that he's running down the boards and those little kids are like, he's my coach. That's what we want. And so having those guys in the community is a great way for us to also give back.
Yeah.
And they received the same care from a coach at some point in time in their lives, and this is a way for them to give back as well and to influence that next generation of soccer players that's coming up in our community.
So I was just curious because we talked a little before off mic how you'd said you'd played soccer, but really at a recreational level, and
Yeah.
you kind of left it there.
Yeah.
How does someone, we think often the people that are running stuff like that, they must have played to XYZ level. Not necessarily, because it's a business.
It is.
How did you find yourself getting involved with them?
So I actually own another business in St. Charles, and I was approached by the gentleman who was bringing the team back into St. Louis to be a partner with the team, which turned into a minority owner, which then turned into hey, I'm going to leave and move to Florida, and do you want to buy the team kind of situation. And my husband and I really value community. We value family. And for me, when I go to the arena, as much as I enjoy watching the soccer on the field, I enjoy watching the families and the little kids dancing with the popcorn buckets on their heads. And, that family dynamic, I personally feel is missing more and more in our community. We're busy on our phones at dinner tables instead of talking with one another. And, for the families who come to the games, a lot of times they're putting those phones down and they're watching and they're cheering together and they're creating those memories. And for myself, it was very important for that opportunity not to go away. So my husband and I stepped up with a couple of other individuals and became owners of the team. And I've got a new partner, Jeff Locker, who is also a local business owner, has several kids who are involved with soccer. He's also serving as the head coach currently. And for he and I, it's not only about winning, but it is about what is it providing outside of just W's in a column.
So let me ask you a question, because our the other team in town, Carolyn Kendall's team, which actually just now saying that out loud, it is kind of cool that you have two women.
It's awesome, cool, really awesome.
That's like
kick ass.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until I said it, but she's famous for out of the gate. There was that moment where she goes to the press conference with Soccer for Dummies book.
Yeah.
Right. And she leaned into it. It was that way. For yourself, coming from another business, you decide you want to be part of the community. There's a lot of other ways that you can be part of a community outside of buying a soccer team, an indoor soccer team.
Sure.
What did that kind of, what was the learning curve like for you to balance the need to be, you got to have a good product on the field, right? And I'm sure Coach Locker's role was really to focus on that. But you had to take some equity in that part as well. How did you navigate the early years of not being really a, quote, soccer person,
right,
but owning a soccer team and trying to, manage, the production on the field and getting, families in the seats? What was that like in the early days?
So, I think one of the things that we as humans forget is that we don't have to be good at everything, and that we can focus on the things that we are good at, as long as we surround ourselves with people who are good at the other stuff. And that first ownership group, one of my partners was Tony Glavin. Tony played for the Steamers.
Yeah.
Tony, had a youth, huge youth club. And
Lots of camps. He did.
Absolutely camps, and he had the Lions, that played outdoor, the college players that were developing. So, like Tony for me was that soccer piece.
So is he kind of like an early mentor for you
Absolutely.
on the soccer side?
Absolutely, yeah. Between he and
Maybe
Jamie
your
Swanner.
Lutz, right? Your Lutz for Carolyn's is Lutz.
Yeah.
Tony would be your guy.
Absolutely. And what I did try and do was kind of stay in my lane and not get too involved in the soccer. Let him, really develop that side, and I focused on everything else. And it was a lot, I'll be honest. That first year we were like 1-19. And the year after that we were 3-19. But we continued to get better. We continued to see, our attendance increase. And it for me, it really is about, there's 60 minutes of soccer on the field, but there's so much other stuff happening in the arena. And how do we make entertainment happen so that if you're not a pure soccer enthusiast,
Right.
That it's still fun for you to come, and that you can come and bring your 3-year-old, and your 3-year-old can be entertained, while you sit in the seat next to them and have a beer and enjoy yourselves. It's not like hockey where you have to wait for the whistle to blow so
Right.
that you can go to the bathroom.
Right.
Well,
Or if you have like when he was 3-year-old, he would just run through the stands. I'm like, there goes Liam off.
I'm like having a flashback of my childhood of going to the old, to the barn, the Checker Dome, because what you're describing, there's 19,000 people that were going to see the Steamers in those years.
Yeah.
And yes, there are a lot of soccer people in St. Louis, but there's not 19,000 soccer people, that were in the stadium at the time. But what they did with the music and
Yeah.
the smoke and just the whole vibe.
The lights and the action and
It was
the cheering,
it was a
right?
rock and roll show.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I enjoy outdoor soccer, but one of the most frustrating things for me is to ever walk away where it's 0-0 and that's okay. I'm as a fan, I don't ever want that scenario. Like, there should be a winner and there should be a loser. Well, in indoor, we have a winner and we have a loser. And our average score is, somewhere between 6 and 8 goals a game. So even if you're not winning, like, there's still those cheering moments.
Yeah.
And those moments in time are what we have to focus on, creating for those memories for us. Because you guys are both talking about, I went to the Checker Dome. I remember the Steamers.
Yeah.
We want that same thing, but in today's ambush.
Yeah, it's funny because indoor soccer, I always joke with, the whole 0-0 analogy. I've seen plenty of 0-0 games, right, that were extremely entertaining and gut-wrenching all at the same time.
Yeah.
And because I love the game, and so I view that a little bit differently than most. The average sport fan in our backyard, if they see 0-0, they're like, oh my God, who died? And it's almost as if indoor soccer, to a degree, what we joke about is it's like a gateway drug to the sport.
Yeah.
Because it is so much faster.
Yeah. So 2 things I thought of when you were just talking right now is just going back, you mentioned Robbie Christo. It's funny because I was getting my training started last night and Robbie comes through and I'm like, hey, get out of here. I'm supposed to start this training on time. And he's like, talking to all the girls at Lufuse that he coaches. And in that moment, they're just seeing him as Coach Robbie or however he goes, right? But I remember my son Liam being coached by Vadim, who is also with Lufuse, and he, in just practice, he was just Vadim, but they would often, as a team, go to his ambush games, and so like Vadim would score, and the boys knew to come to this particular corner or wherever, and they'd be up at the glass or whatever it's called, whatever that is, plexiglass, and Vadim would be sure that his little goal celebration included. He'd come over and bang on the boards, and the boys would bang on the boards, and for just a second, they forgot that he was just coach and he was a superstar.
Yeah.
And then, next practice, he kicked their asses and they were like, Vadim just, ramming us run. But it was a great little, thing to see them kind of go into that adoration and then out, in just, he's just a normal coach and how cool that was for them. Slica having many award ceremonies there of their division, champions that they're going to be promoted. See, we do have promotion and relegation and some elements of soccer. The other thing you mentioned And I think it was before we got started because we were talking about what we were going to talk about. And you're like, listen, I'm going to talk X's and O's. And we're like, great. You said relationships, and you talked about how relationships were important. And I think that's so interesting because Carolyn Kindle has been talked about in terms of her relationship building. Lutz Pfannenstiel is, he's the guy who's the X's and O's. I'm looking at the players and who might be. But he mentioned in a press conference how stunned he was at her presence with the team. Her being there more often than you would see a European owner that might come once, twice a season in their suits. You don't even get to have a relationship with them, but she's a relationship builder, and it sounds like you're somebody that likes that as well.
Yeah, so I was at practice this morning, and
Did you have to run?
No.
You're like, no, I'm
not my job.
Guys, yeah.
But the players know that when they see me, I'm gonna hug them. And
You did. You gave me a hug. I'm like, oh, we're hugging. All right.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's really a sense of family. Not just saying that we're an ambush family, but I legitly, care about these guys, and not just what happens when they're on the field, but like what's happening in their lives. Who's got babies, who's getting married. What is your game plan for when the season's over? Because we're only playing 5 months. What are you going to do in the off season? How are you going to support yourself? Where are you going to live? What's your long-term plan? Like, you're going to play soccer. If you're like Paulo, you're going to play until, you're 50.
Yeah.
Which means I still get another 15 years out of him. We're good.
He's a bionic man, I tell you.
Yeah, he absolutely is. But, what is that next step for you? And then what do I do to help you in that path and process? And so for me, it's not just you're a name and a number on the field, or you're a chip that I move around my board.
And that's
or
the
a
future of
person.
leadership to me. Like, that's the leadership I think that lasts. I think that's the leadership that makes the most difference, that style of leaderships where they're not just X's and O's. They're human beings that
Right.
have families and maybe babies, and we don't get to, even at the highest levels internationally, you don't play in a bubble. The bubble, you have other things outside your bubble, and it affects you there, and then your play and your work affects you at home, in every job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a question along those lines because, kind of knowing a little bit about the X's and O's, specifically pay, right? And I'm wondering because you clearly are very empathetic. The community, it's a family thing. You know that these guys are, it's a 5-month season. And I'm coming at this question from the viewpoint of being a small business owner. And historically, it was always like all I wanted was for my guys to succeed. I wanted them to make more money.
Yeah.
I wanted them to get more benefits. I wanted them to love what they do and continue it. And ultimately, I wanted them all to leave, and do it on their own too.
Sure.
So it's professional soccer, but it's 5 months. And all of these guys, for the most part, have to have other jobs.
Absolutely.
To sustain. Does that lean on you kind of hearing and learning about you quickly here? Because obviously you probably love to pay them 12-month wages and have, that kind of relationship. How do you manage that too? Because, you talk about, their family, their kids, you want to make sure all those things are good. That stability is part of it. So how do you manage that part?
So I think as an owner of a business, I look at how do I create that stability, and knowing that I've got 5 months, and they've got 7 months outside of that. So I'll be honest, when I started in this 7 years ago, every single one of our players got paid per game, which means that if you practiced hard enough, if you made the starting lineup, then you got paid. And if you didn't, then you were going to hopefully work harder the next week and try and break into the lineup, right?
I love it, yeah.
So there were players that literally came and trained all season and never saw a dime. Today, every single player is on some kind of salary. Obviously varying levels of salary, but we've gone from that per game to we're making a commitment as an organization to make sure that there's some stability for you during this time.
Wow.
For outside of that, we try and create other opportunities. So that is why it's so important for me, for our guys to be plugged into the youth organizations. Because to your point, when you think indoor, you're thinking, November to maybe April, right?
Right.
Well, outdoor is now that we have turf fields and lights and all this stuff, it's starting in February.
Yeah,
but
for the most part, it's almost all year round.
it is. But, the core of what outdoor is really in those off months. And so if we can help players get plugged into coaching some teams and being involved in some of the larger organizations, it provides that stability.
Yeah.
In addition, we continually add more and more programs to what we're offering. Last year, for the first time, we actually held our own summer camp. And that was for, 3 different weeks throughout the summer, but it employed, 3 to 4 players during those weeks. And we were able to compensate them, enough for them to be able to subsidize everything else that they're doing. The other thing that we do, again, going back to kind of that community involvement, is we partner with a lot of the CYC churches and organizations and do week-long camps at night for an hour. And it's rec. It's not for those high-level players.
Sure.
We're not teaching skills. It's more of the, how do we have fun and how do we learn to enjoy being active? And so we do a summer camp pretty much every week from the end of school till the beginning of school. And again, that provides more income opportunities for the players. So it's about creating that stability. I'll be honest, I'm open to suggestions if somebody else says, hey, Shelly, have you thought about this? I mean, it is all about creating that year-round consistent income because, as you know, from a mental standpoint, not knowing where that next paycheck.
Stress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it affects you not only, mentally, but health-wise.
Yeah, they're linked.
Absolutely. So for me, it's about how do we as an organization continue to create more stability, but I never have the intention of creating an academy or a youth club that is St. Louis, because I do not want to take away from what the other organizations in our city are doing and the phenomenal groundwork that they've laid, for decades.
But looking at I was just scrolling down the list of events. On November 11th, Lindenwood Tailgate. That's where I went to college.
Yeah.
And besides the games that are listed on here, St. Charles salutes Veterans Day. Is it Tucano's?
Yeah.
Brazilian Grill, a meet and greet with the players, December 17th. I know this one, Slice a Night. We know Slice a Nights to a New Year's Eve Kids Bash. So that, really looking at the club with its, kind of feelers into the community for many, many things that, parents need, beyond going to the indoor games, go to those, but
Right.
look at all the other things that you can do for something to do, especially too in winter months where it's cold and it's hard to find things for kids to do and your family to do together.
Right.
That's really great looking at all that you guys have planned so far.
Well, thanks.
Have you seen kind of a maybe an easier path a little bit, and that might not be the right term, but in garnering support and sponsorships and partnerships due to St. Louis has always been a soccer town. Let me just start there. But adding City SC
Absolutely.
has absolutely changed the
Absolutely.
landscape.
Yeah, well, it's legitimized soccer in the soccer capital of the world. I mean, to not have had an MLS team until this past season, we can claim whatever we want to claim, but now we, legitimately have,
Yeah.
a
the
team.
table, yeah.
Absolutely. And
What has that effect been on the ambush optics and awareness, moving forward?
I still hear probably on a weekly basis, oh, I didn't know the ambush was back. I
Really?
think, yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have the resources that City has. I mean, City marketed for, years. And
Well, and they have the backing of MLS, too.
Absolutely.
That's a big place to do your marketing for you.
Absolutely. And the blitzes that they were able to do, it's just not where we're at today. It's where we hope to be. But having that team, especially with as successful as they were this season, stirred some things in a lot of people who maybe weren't fanatical fans of soccer before.
Yeah, like turning a new eye to it, where
Yeah.
there's a lot of us who grew up. We grew up with Steamer, Storm, and then on to Ambush, where you grew up when you know that the game is there. And it makes me wonder, it's like, hey, St. Louis City, maybe there's an ambush night one time at a game. They like to do a lot of themed, Matt Seebeck over there, and they create their event creation is phenomenal when they pull in partners and,
For sure.
and what kind of partnership that could pull in between the two and, turn an eye to each other and share that fan base.
For
There's
sure.
plenty to go around.
Absolutely, and because we're opposite season, it's not a competition of which I would clearly lose because we are not that purist version of the sport. But I come from a philosophy of I always give before I ever ask, and I don't feel that where I'm at today that I have enough to offer City for that ask yet. Our league is getting ready to make some major changes and announcements that are going to impact us to a point where I believe we will be able to be impactful, and I will be able to, provide, some resources. And in all honesty, I mean, we have a working relationship with them in that we both love soccer, and the bottom line is that we are here for soccer and for our community. And I mean, you've seen what City is doing throughout the community with putting the fields in locations where communities maybe wouldn't have that opportunity otherwise. And so there's so many different things that we could do together. For me, I know they're getting through their first year, and I'll be honest, when COVID hit, it was a hard reset for our organization. Like, we're just now starting to get back to like that pre-COVID staffing and marketing ability and all of those things, because that year of COVID was very challenging. And
I bet, particularly for an indoor sport, right? Like, you couldn't do anything indoors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, luckily the family arena was open, and so we were able to socially distance. But, I mean, our attendance went from, 3,500 on average the year before to, 1,000 people a game. But it was not the right environment to say, hey, why don't you bring your soccer team of 40 kids out, and let's sit all...
and hang out together in your masks and cough all over each other.
Yeah, so, I mean, it wasn't the right time. So we're still recovering, but... to your point, the relationship between the two of us, I will tell you that the supporters for City have already reached out to us, and they want to continue.
Oh, that's awesome.
That same spirit, because to your point, it's not necessarily about being that soccer enthusiast who just wants to sit there and watch the game, right? It's about that community.
But I love that too about the City, the supporter groups. They love to support. They love to support also community things, not only City, but community. They also, each one of them, like the Punks, for example, right? Their focus is on mental health, and so each one of them has a little bit. Santos connection to the Hispanic community. Yeah. So they love to support. How great would that? Is that to have them also as a come support this too? Like, it doesn't have to be an either or. It can be all.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, here's an idea. Why don't you? You've got your game, but then why don't you have like a series where you have a supporters challenge? And because I guarantee the Outlaws would put together a team, the Luligans put together a team, Punks would put together, Santos, all of them. And then you just schedule them all out where as soon as the game's over, high five the players. And then the supporters...
Oh, you mean to play?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying,
Yeah, no, take that Brentwood Friday night.
So it's like,
league.
hey, put your flags down.
Yeah,
and
no,
come here and kick
put up
the
or
ball.
shut up. Put your boots on, get out there. That would be cool as hell.
That would be really fun. I will say we did just so we've been meeting with those supporters groups, the Santoses, the what is it? No goats and the no nappers.
No naps, yes.
And
the no nap.
Fandalorians.
Yeah, that's right.
But all of those groups, and we've actually designated a section at the arena for the supporters so that we can bring in the drums, bring in the flags, and not have to go through a bunch of red tape.
Okay, just question though. Yeah. Are they wearing City? Are they wearing Ambush? Or can they wear both? Supporters groups are really strict with what you can and can't wear.
Or do they have to wear the T-Rev kits?
I am...
Oh, God.
I'm not dictating what they do or don't have to do. Honestly,
you just want them there. Just come here.
I just want
yell.
you to come and enjoy the game.
Awesome.
And be with your family, be with your friends, and I don't care what you wear.
Yeah. Oh, that is really cool.
I tell you what, if you do that, I'll put together a soccer dad pod team. We went in.
Okay.
We want a challenge. We've got supporters.
I'm automatically on that team. So,
I'm finding a date where we can make that happen, man. I'll be honest, that sounds fun.
Jared's listening right now.
I don't know.
He's going to start
take
stretching
Jared
right
now. Yeah, I can take Jared. I can take him. I can do it. Like one time, and then all of us, by the way, after that game, are going to see their orthopedic doctors.
Oh, yeah, no. Can we just get a bye to the final round? Because we're not good for 2 games.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
5-minute halves.
Let me ask you a question logistically.
Yeah.
Family Arena, obviously, they're in St. Charles, just what is that, south of the kind of Old Town area.
Correct.
You know, and obviously with what City did, they smack dab in the shadow of the arch. You know, and St. Louis is a big area. The location of Family Arena, do you feel that is the right place? And in a perfect world, if you felt that it's not the perfect place, where would that be? Because it is Illinois people, you know, it's a little tough. A little bit of that's two rivers to cross.
I thought about it like
you know,
that.
and then there's all those people that are in the city that are like, anything west of Skinker is foreign.
When I grew up in
Right.
Fenton, so if you're south, you're like, oh, we got to go to north.
right. So, you know, because that was one of the things whenever I knew you guys were rebooting and the Family Arena, I'm like, oh man, you know, it's just cool. We live in Webster, or we were in South Grand at the time.
Yeah.
How is the location treating you guys? And you know, is that best case scenario, or you know, talk about space?
Sure. So, you know, for me, the Family Arena is one of the best partners I could ask for. And across the league, I believe that the relationship that I have with our arena is better than any other arena, unless that team happens to own their arena. Our arena has no other sports teams, so I get first selections on dates.
Does PBR not count as a sport?
You know, maybe that one weekend. Honestly, I think the cheer counts more as a sport than, you know, and here's the thing. I think, you know, if you look at population, the people that grew up in the city and you know, the outlying, you know, municipalities, they eventually move to St. Charles.
Flight.
Yeah. And
Right down 270 across 70.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so, you know, because of the partnership that I have with them, because of their commitment that they've made to the team, you know, the arena is owned by the county. We have a great relationship with the county. They provide a lot of services for us. They provide a lot of marketing for us. Not that it, you know, there wouldn't be another alternative, maybe downtown, but cost-wise, you know, that's a factor.
Sure.
You know, the other factor is the fact that, like, my businesses are in St. Charles. Jeff's businesses are in St. Charles. We train out of Veta in St. Charles. And so St. Charles is our backyard.
Right.
And I think regardless of where you ever have a team, you always have people that's their backyard. And so I know that for whatever reason in St. Louis, you know, people don't like to go from St. Louis to St. Charles. You know, people in St. Charles don't have a problem going across the river.
People in Wentzville have no issue driving in for a city game, right? So,
Right.
you know, they're I remember because we did a thing out there with Joao Klaus, and we're driving. I live at like Manchester and 270. I'm pretty central now, and I was like, this is taking forever. But knowing all those fans that were over there at Hot Shots are all going into Major League Soccer games downtown.
Yeah.
You know, as much as possible. So, you know, the drive's not as bad as we all tend to think.
Oh,
sometimes.
I totally agree with you. You know, is there another option? I'm sure there is. For me right now, the arena that we have, the flexibility that they provide to us, the resources that they provide to us, and the relationship that I have with those people. You know, I've been working with Sandy Femmer she's the GM of the arena. I've been working with her for 11 years.
Yeah.
And there's so much to be said about relationships. You know, I have their back, they have my back. We know that we both succeed when we both succeed.
Right.
You know, if I go down to a Chaffetz or I go down to Enterprise or wherever, you know, I don't have those relationships. I don't know what those would look like. I also don't fill the arena, which is a 9,000, you know, 9,500 capacity. I don't need a 40,000, you know, capacity building.
Right.
And honestly, if I had a choice, I'd probably pick an arena around 4,000 or 5,000 because we would be selling that arena out several games. But I'm not a short-sighted planner. I know that, you know, we continue to increase, and there will be the day where we will be back to Checker Dome status, where it is a sellout at every single game. And it's because of not only...
Will you allow smoking in the 300 section?
Oh my God.
Oh, it's a county-owned building, so probably not. But, you know, do what you want outside.
I mean, I'm not a smoker. I was just
No, me
saying,
neither.
like, my memories of standing up there was yeah, that.
Yeah, we all live to tell the tale. Yeah, it leads me to a question though. Just thinking about your relationship, I hadn't thought about that with an arena that's not yours per se; it's owned by the county. And then looking on Ambush's website, which by the way is great, it's so easy to navigate. Some of the things seem really obvious, like to be a bench warmer, right? That's there with the team, or to walk of champions, or post warm up mini game. Like if you haven't checked it out, listeners, you need to check out all the things. But like then there are other things that are. I wonder who is that run by? So like corporate groups, right? Corporate groups are going to be coming soon. Performance groups where that doesn't ring soccer unless they're coming to a soccer game. Is that community, or is it team driven, or is that the facility driven, or is it together?
So that is our way to creatively pull in people who may not be soccer fans to come to a game and experience it.
Okay.
Because for me, it's
And like
not,
birthday packages.
Yeah,
I see.
it's not just about the game that's happening on the field. It's all the other stuff, and it's no different than maybe going to a movie. Only except for sitting in a movie theater seat where you don't interact with the person next to you. You're going to actually sit there and interact with the people around you for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
There's
and have a great
pregame
time.
match opportunities, JB. You get 30-minute block before the ambush play. You can
No,
play.
no, I want halftime.
Okay. Halftime show.
I'm thinking maybe we could talk about like doing maybe like let's see who can, penalty kicks and like which supporter.
Oh, lockdown on that. I'm telling you, soccer day.
He's sailing it in the net. I can
Hey,
see it now.
Zach, I know you're listening. Get to work, buddy.
Get on the mark. But it's real. So the family arena then is it hard to schedule? Like, is it always around games, or is it outside of games as well? And is that you or family arena?
So anything that's related to soccer is us.
Okay.
And the arena is our partner in everything that we do. So when we have our winter camp, for example, between Christmas and New Year's, the arena allows us to use their facility to help get more people into the arena, to get more kids involved, because they know eventually those people are going to come to not only the ambush games, but the other great events that the arena has to offer.
Right, there you go.
Outside of just the circus, they have concerts all the time. They've got shows. They just had Hot Wheels. I mean, there's all kinds of, and it really is family, community centric, which is, I think, different from what you see from like maybe a professional arena.
Yeah.
We're not bringing in Taylor Swift or Justin Timberlake, and the tickets aren't $300.
Well, you got. I mean, I'm a huge music fan. I mean, the format, the programming out there fits the zip code.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of the shows that are booked out there are really looking for the people to come from further west in. It's country heavy, and it makes sense, and it's a lot of fun. I've been to shows there, because once you get to Enterprise, you can put a 5 to 10x on that ticket price.
Yeah.
So there's still value there. It's one of those things where you can go to those shows, and it's I remember them when it was a $30, $40 ticket, not $500.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Well, and really the arena itself is fairly intimate. It doesn't really matter where you're sitting. You're still a part of what's happening.
Yeah.
So, and for me, that's important. I don't want to necessarily pay that $500 and be, second to top row, and I'm watching the video board.
Yeah, better than you can see what's on the field.
Yeah.
That's what all fans love about, soccer specific stadiums outdoor is, and players have talked about that before too, is they've played in football stadiums. We've played in baseball stadiums where not only is that a mess, baseball stadiums are a mess with line of sight, but even in football stadiums, like everything's so much further away. They love the intimacy of being closer. I feel like the players love it too.
For sure.
And I would imagine that the indoor players love that as well.
Well, I mean,
it's a little
feed.
mix of hockey too, right? You got
yeah.
you got the plexiglass, you got some banging on the glass, but it's also soccer.
Yeah, well, and you've got that interaction, right? And you want to have that intimacy, and the guys feed off of the energy and the screaming and the kids rushing down to give the high fives. I mean, that's part of the experience.
Are you traveling with the team on the away games?
I probably travel to 2/3 to 3/4 of them. It just depends on where we're going and then what also is happening.
So give us an idea of kind of the litmus, the scene, the environment of the ambush game, compared to some of the other road options. Do you feel good about, comparatively speaking, when you look at the other arenas, you look at the other teams, you look at their other production packages. Give us an idea of where you guys fall based on your own travels into these other markets. And what's another market that does it really, really well?
I think from an entertainment value standpoint, our organization has the most jam-packed, full schedule during that 2-hour time block of anybody else. There's not a timeout that happens where we don't have some kind of giveaway happening or some kind of selfie cam or some kind of awkward dad dance cam going on or
Yeah, we got that too.
yeah, I mean something to entertain,
Right.
the family the whole time. If I'm going to look closely at, what other organizations do a great job, the Milwaukee Wave is very good with theme nights in their halftime productions. Kansas City puts on a very nice production as well. They're our two most important partners. They're both within driving distance of us. And I'll be honest, there are some places where, it is just the game and, maybe the DJ's playing some music. There's a lot that we do to try and help support one another. And some of us are staffed differently than others. And it's all about, like, what are your resources and, where can you take it to? And what is your focus? My focus is just on making sure that entire family that comes is entertained, whether they're 80, they're 8, or somewhere in between. Like, I want them to have a great time. I want them to leave going, oh my gosh, I can't believe, how much fun that was. We've got to come back.
Well, and also looking at, the line of sight. So JB and you guys in the Soccer Dad Pod have kids who play in Cities Academy. There's, different levels to get maybe to look towards the top level. And
Sure.
looking at a press release from May 25th this year of talking about the St. Louis Ambush 2 has also a pathway into the top team. And how many more families and kids, if they choose to go that route, but don't have to just think of like, I don't know if I could see myself on the top team. At this moment, there are developmental ways. Is that's got to be a big area of growth for you as well?
Yeah, so that's something we just added this past season. In the past, we've partnered with other teams for that second division. But I think that, knowing that, soccer is alive in St. Louis, that we've got that homegrown talent, I think we're very short-sighted if we don't figure out a way to provide that opportunity. And because indoor is a different game than outdoor,
Right.
You've got to have opportunity to play at a fairly high level to know whether or not you're going to be good at it. Because there are some players that excel in outdoor, but they come to indoor and they just, it's a different game.
Well, it totally is.
Indoor here
Yeah.
has really... It fills that gap where in most other developed soccer nations, especially South American countries, they have futsal.
Right.
They have futsal at a level that is high pro,
Right.
high pay. Well, futsal never really took on in the States. It is starting to now, but indoor soccer has always kind of been there.
Oh man, it's been there. Like, who doesn't remember a Christmas tournament at Avetta? For your youth players. I mean, it's usually about this time of the year is when parents start, because things are closing down on
Yeah,
them.
it was the 1/8" turf on top of concrete.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why when my kids are like, "Oh, dude, look at my turf burn," I'm like, "That's nothing. I still need a skin graft for
Yeah,
mine."
no,
when
I
was
open hand
8.
slap them when they say that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Like,
God.
You don't even know. Like,
Stop
you got like
yourself.
blankets under that turf now, you big babies. But yeah, like that is a part of also just the, not even on the soccer side, it's the part of a culture even for the families. Like there are friends I know, they're like, we're gonna hang out at a local, indoor place, and the big one in town is Veta. Whatever location, who's hosting, it's usually Concord and Soccer Dome, because I'm not calling it Veta, whatever. It's Soccer Dome. That's what I'm calling it.
No, that's no problem.
But yeah, that it's a part of your winter experience to have your kids probably playing in that, and the parents might be having beverages behind the whatever
Might.
plexiglass.
And it's part of the tradition, right? It's part of those things that you do with your family.
And then if
as
you
a
go
family.
far enough, you're waking up really early on New Year's morning to play the final, which was not fun. It's fun to win, but not fun to wake up.
So let me ask you this then, because you've talked a little bit about the growth, the progression. You mentioned earlier how in the early days it was pay by game for the players, and now you're at the point where everybody has some form of a salary. And then out of the gate, you mentioned that you were also a business owner elsewhere, and you bought in as a partner. For you personally, has your own pendulum, that percentage of balance, that growth, if it was 25-75 in the early days, soccer to your other job, what's that percentage look like now in your world as far as running the business? Are you at 50-50? Are you 75-25? Where are you at?
I would say of my, we'll just say 60-hour week, that I spend probably 55 hours in Ambush and 5 hours in my other business. But my husband and I own that other business together, and he's taken on different roles, and so he has stepped up. And I actually am an elementary school teacher by trade. So I never, did the psychology side. I never did the sports entertainment side. Like, I never even business class, never even did it. Like, I learned by the school of hard knocks, and I took what I learned from building our first business into this business and have applied whatever I can, and I've grasped at straws. And I think, through the whole thing, it's all about perseverance and finding that balance and finding those people, again, to support you in the things that you're either not good at or you don't have the time for, letting them do your thing, and you focus on the thing that you can do and do it the best you can. And I think that's what we ask of our players.
So it's obviously a personal question for me, given that I'm a woman and you're a woman. But looking at at Ambush's staff, it's still we're in a very male-dominated industry. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. I was coached mostly by males, but in broadcast, I'm also in a very still male-heavy industry. People like you, Carolyn Kindle, are true pioneers. They're true, they pave the way for more involvement and a perspective that doesn't matter what business, I think, whether you're running a soccer team or whatever, but a perspective that's sorely missed. Do you see yourself that way? And have you been able to see the growth of women leading in this kind of business, or maybe even your other one?
So my other business, I'm also in a male-dominated field. I'm licensed in the state of Missouri amongst, there's probably 900 licensed land surveyors, and I'm probably one of a dozen females. So I'm just kind of familiar with this, but I never really saw myself as a pioneer until last year. The league came to me and said, we want to feature you. It's National Women's Month, Business Month, and they did a very long interview. And I think for the first time, I kind of realized that maybe I am, breaking out of the mold a little bit. I am the only female owner in the MASL.
Are you? I didn't know that. It's one.
Yeah, I'm on the executive committee. I served as the secretary for several years. I'm now the treasurer. The opportunity is there if I want it to continue to move forward. I don't necessarily like the idea of pioneer so much as I do just somebody who is passionate about something, doing it, because it doesn't matter if you're a female, if you're a male, if you're somewhere in between, if you're trying to figure out who you are. Like, it is about embracing the things that you're good at and moving forward with them and allowing those things to shine.
And like you said before, finding those people, you surround yourself.
Yeah.
I think especially as women, many times we do often think we have to know everything to even make the tiniest step forward, where you don't. Guys all around that are in like a press conference room asking questions about things they have no idea about, but where you surround yourself with those people and you build them up and you become a team unto yourselves.
And then those relationships are then what continue to drive and allow you to thrive in life as you move forward.
Awesome.
Well, that was fun.
That was awesome.
That was fun. Did you have
Shelly
fun,
Clark.
Shelly?
I had a great time. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you
Absolutely.
for bringing that stories and perspective.
So real quick, for those listening, tell them best way to check out Ambush. You prefer your website, social medias, all of it, all of the above?
Hey, whatever floats your boat, man, wherever you speak, whether that's, Facebook for somebody, that's my age, or if you're an Instagrammer. Or,
I love how you said that. Me too.
I mean, we've got the website. I mean, worst case, you go to Ticketmaster. The games are on there. It's a great opportunity to build memories with your families, and I encourage you to do so.
JB, that's it for your fan supporters league at the Ambush. Your turn. That's how you contact her to set that up.
Okay. We'll work on that. And then if somebody wants to reach out to you, business owner wants to partner and help out and get involved, LinkedIn or through the webpage, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Email me, man, Shelly@stlambush.com.
That was awesome. Well, hey, look, this has been fun. Obviously, we're going to continue working together, throughout the season, raising awareness of the games, the league, etc. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for giving a voice and being present in our community. And this is something that's amazing that you guys are doing. So keep up the good work.
I see a Soccer Dad Pod, Soccer Mom Sunday fan section, maybe.
You do that. I thought you were going to say head to head.
Oh, I got girls. I can call them right now.
Well, this has been fun. Hey, we're out at, want to also be remiss not to mention Mellow Mushroom here in Chesterfield. 2 locations, Sunset Hills, Chesterfield. Look, pizza's dope. Just come eat the pizza, feed the kids. It's great.
I'm getting some now to bring home. It'll be
there
gone
you
in
go.
5 minutes.
Their bruschetta is to die for.
It's so good. Well, Soccer Mom Sunday, Jen and I, we're on our way out. Shelly, enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well.
And we'll be in touch, and we'll catch everybody next time. Bye.